Okay, so I need to figure
Do
out
we
how to
have a
start.
new intro for this?
No, there's no special intro for this one because this one's like an introduction. This is,
I know, but for the that guy chat or whatever the heck it's called, are we gonna have a different one, or is it just gonna be Hello the Nerds America?
I don't know. We could do that. We could have our own intro. It could literally just be us already chatting kind of thing.
Right.
But we'll figure that out. So, hi, I'm Joe Thunder. And if you're listening to this, you obviously have discovered the Clash in the Nerds podcast. With me today is one of my hosts, that guy, also known as Jason, also known as So and J. Say hello, Jason.
Hello, Jason.
Good job. So, this very short podcast, I'm going to estimate it's going to take about 10 minutes at most.
Probably.
We're basically just here to explain to you what you're going to expect on every episode of the main podcast and also our side cast, which we're not exactly sure what we're calling it yet.
The amazing sidecast of Justice and Doom.
I might use that. So, when we begin every episode, we start with a bit of a nerd talk. This originally was, if anyone has listened to our old podcast, I guess we should kind of go back on a history, shouldn't we?
Yeah, maybe.
So, almost 3 years ago, I can't remember if it was March or February. I think it was February when me and Ian first recorded the first podcast. These are very old podcasts that we're not going to be releasing because they kind of stink. But,
We're just two derps with ambition and a dream.
yep.
And
So-
a recording device.
So we recorded some podcast stuff, and it just kind of spread into all these other things. So our original outline, a lot of things have been replaced or changed around a bit. So Nerd Talk used to be like our superhuman debate, where we kind of took two superheroes, and we debated like who would win in a fight usually.
Because what else do superheroes do?
Yep.
They fight each other.
So, but I kind of realized maybe we should broaden that. So it's not like it's kind of gone. Like I'm sure we're gonna have a nerd talk where we debate a superhero fight, but now nerd talk is kind of just a general kind of like, how's everyone doing? Everyone excited for things, stuff like that.
Yeah, alright.
So then we have a movie review. That guy, I'm sure you want to explain this.
Okay, get this. The concept of the movie review is that we actually review a movie. I mean, mind blown here. But basically with our movie review, we usually review a movie that one or more of us have seen recently, or if we haven't seen a movie recently, if there hasn't been any good releases out, we'll release something, or we'll review something ridiculous. Like, I remember one time we reviewed Toy Story because no one had seen a movie recently.
It's kind of like we try to review the most recent movies that come out, but if not, then we kind of choose like a good old movie that we kind of rehash, and hopefully if you haven't seen the movie, you'll be like, oh, maybe I should watch this movie, or maybe it'll give you inspiration to go rewatch that movie.
We try to review the movie with as least spoilers as possible, and then at the end, everyone gives it their own rating out of 1337.
It's technically a rating out of 13, but if it's a perfect movie, it gets a 1337.
That's how it works.
Now, I'd like to say that we don't give out 1337s like candy.
But we do.
We do, but that's because we've seen a lot of good movies recently.
There were a lot
Like,
of good ones in
you know,
2014.
Such as Big Hero 6, Guardians of the Galaxy,
Indeed.
the Lego Movie.
Was that the beginning of 2014, yeah?
Yep. So, on top of that, we also do a game review, which is shock
Like
horror,
the movie
like
review.
the movie review.
But it's with a game.
We specifically try to do a newer release game with the game review, because after that we do a retro review in which we talk about a very old game, usually at least, PS2, Xbox,
Yeah.
GameCube era, and back.
Pre-2005, stuff like that.
Yeah, we try to talk about older games to either tell you to go recheck them out or check them out for the first time. Because there's some good older games out there that some people just have never heard of.
People are just like, there's not enough graphics, I'm not going to play the old games. And it's like, dude, they're really good.
Yeah. So after that, we end up talking, some gaming and movie news, basically just nerd news in general. It's kind of like Nerd Talk, but we specifically are talking about like trailers and like reviews and like things that have been brought up in the news, basically.
But potentially stuff about actors,
Yeah.
anything that's interesting.
And the final section is my personal favorite. It's called the Alternate Batman.
It's the way to wrap it up.
So this actually initially was an unintentional thing because when me and Ian did the first podcast, he just randomly asked, "Hey, what if Batman had the Darkness?" Which is a demon thing from the Darkness video game for last gen consoles, which is PS3, Xbox 360, all those good things. But and then it just kind of blossomed into a segment. So we like to basically now Batman is based off the idea that he cleaned up all of the crime in Gotham City and got bored, spent all of his money, and then decided to call me up and asked if he could live in my walls.
So there you go. Batman lives in Joey's walls. He's kind of an older Batman. He doesn't really have as much gumption, but he wants to get out there and do stuff because it's really boring just sitting around in Joey's walls.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we base all of our Batmans, although the original idea that I had is I actually based it off of Batman the Brave and the Bold episode, where Batman uses an alternate dimension thing and brings back like 20 different Batmans.
All of the Batmans.
Like, there's one with like a giant brain, there's like a Robo-Batman, there's like a Western Batman. And that was like kind of the original idea, was like if Batman was if Batman was in this time zone, or like if he had this specific thing. But
right.
Now it's just turned into like, what if Batman worked at Walmart?
Yeah, there's some pretty good good discussions that we get into about that. Kindergarten teachers, Walmart greeters.
That's all we got right now.
Well, I mean, we'll come up with other ones.
So that's our basic podcast outline. So the one thing that you might notice when you listen to our show is I tend to call our fans the Nerds America. And, instantly, if you're from another country, that might turn you off a bit. Like, why am I referring to you from America? I like to think of the Nerds America as its own country. So, I know, it's ridiculous. But basically, the Nerds America actually came from, once again, the very first episode. Me and Ian called up our friend Bill for one of our segments.
I haven't even heard of Bill.
Yeah, and we're actually gonna play that clip right now. Sup, man? You're
guys, how's it going?
fine. You're on the Clash of the Nerds first episode.
Are we recording right now?
Yeah, we are.
Party like it's 2012
Hello,
and the world's gonna end.
America. The Nerds of America.
That's the backstory.
Yeah. So I just liked it, and I don't know if I'll play it or not, but I made an intro, and I actually used that voice segment, like where he says the Nerds America. I just liked it, and it's kind of what we've been calling our fans.
So there you go.
Please don't be offended if you're not from America.
It's okay. We still love you.
We love anyone who listens to us. So
all 7 of you.
So on top of that, I should mention we would like to make this a more fan-based show. So if you'd like to email us with questions or comments or anything, you can email us at theclashofthenerdz@gmail.com.
All one word, all lowercase?
Yep. Although, all the one word thing is important, but all lowercase thing, it's not very important with emails nowadays.
Is it really? Okay.
No, they don't really. It's just, I don't think they don't really pay attention to those capitals and lower cases usually.
Well, that's dumb.
Because Gmail is, it's probably owned by Gabe Newell for all we know.
No, it's Google.
Which is owned by Gabe Newell.
Of course it is.
So that's kind of our main podcast. So the 4 main podcasters you're going to hear on it are me, Joe Thunder. I'm probably the biggest, nerdiest nerd of all of us. I'm the one who kind of organized everything and runs everything.
He's the head honcho.
Yep. And then, of course, we have that guy.
Hello, I am that guy. That is my name. It is on my birth certificate.
He weighs 700 pounds.
I have a terrifying neckbeard, and I live in the basement. I am not a sir, but I want to be.
Besides
If you
that,
believed any of that, you have problems.
that guy's an awesome guy. He's quite a nerd still. He does a lot more. He's more into the gaming than anything, really.
Oh, you completely just cut out there.
Oh, that's rude. Well, that
Skype.
guy likes gaming. He likes Steam-based games such as Left 4 Dead 2 and CS:GO.
PC Master Race. I have nothing against consoles.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into any kind of discussion here. That's for something else.
Yeah,
So,
no worries.
Then we have Ian Gates. That guy, you want to describe Ian?
Well, Ian, he's a person who's like, if your car breaks down at 2 a.m. with a flat tire, he'll change it.
Ian is the real guy, the best guy. He's kind of a crazy guy, but
He's a little bit unpredictable.
you never know what he's good. But he's very funny. He definitely brings the podcast some light. He kind of helps.
He's very philosophical, man.
Yep. And then there's Jeff, also known as DJ Fej.
That's just Jeff spelled backwards because he couldn't think of a better name.
Well, that's what some of his brother's friends called him. Like,
Fej?
yeah, they called him DJ Fej for some reason.
That's a cool name. I take it back.
So,
How do we describe Jeff? Well, I mean,
Jeff is the
you have to
least-
start with beard.
okay, so Jeff usually has an awesome beard and wears flannel. Jeff is a cool guy, but he literally knows nothing about anything, basically.
You cannot be sarcastic with him because he'll think it's legit, and then he'll be very confused. But that's okay, because we love Jeff.
Yep. But Jeff kind of adds, like, Jeff is basically the main humor of our podcast.
He's the color commentator.
Like, we'll explain something and he just won't get it, but he'll say something anyways. But
It won't be related, but it'll still be funny.
the one thing you want to know about this podcast, I feel like we should have said this at the beginning. It's a very adult podcast. We do tend to swear. Jeff does use the word penis quite a lot.
Pretty sure that's like the minimum amount of times that he says that in one podcast is probably like 15.
That's not an exaggeration. He's probably right.
That's on a good day.
That's on a good day. So, but we'll say a lot of adult jokes or adult-based humor. I tend to swear sometimes. Well, that guy doesn't swear, but a lot of people do tend to swear on the show, and I don't really cut it out. The only thing I cut out is if we start talking about like a visual thing in the room, like how
Non-essential things that you don't need to know about.
like how that guy can like bounce his eyes back and forth.
Yeah. People are thinking, wait, what?
just try and picture
Don't
that.
even ask. I take my eyes out and I bounce them. No.
So that's kind of our main podcast grouping. There's tons of other people. If you listen to our old show, Steven used to be heavily included, but he's just his life just doesn't fit with the podcast, so we just kind of kicked him out.
He's sort of kicked out. I mean, he could.
He's
join
always welcome, but
he's always busy.
He's too infrequent to consider an official host.
He's a guest host. We have plenty
Yeah.
of guest hosts.
We have plenty of guest hosts, all the best hosts. So
Are the guest hosts. I
finally,
rhymed it.
the last thing we're going to talk about on this like sidecast is me and that guy's sidecast.
Oh, sidecastception.
Bwah. So basically, me and that guy. Well, I have to pay money for our hosting. It's not a lot, but I still pay money, and it's basically it makes it so we can upload a weekly podcast, and because the main podcast is so irregular.
It's like sometimes monthly, but not guaranteed.
Yeah, you can't even like tri-monthly usually.
Tri-monthly. So
if you're lucky, it's tri-monthly.
4 podcasts a year. There you go.
Yep. So I decided because I'm paying for this, me and that guy we're always chatting on Skype, and we have some good conversations that I figured we could do a side cast where we just kind of talk about different things each episode.
So you don't get the diversity of all the different hosts. You only get that guy and that guy. Telling them apart is your business.
We're not exactly, and on top of that, we're not like gonna be talking about like our main stuff. We're gonna usually only have like one topic one of us will
Probably.
set.
It's just gonna be a little short thing.
So maybe our first episode we'll talk about like consoles versus PC, or Bruce Campbell,
I mean, that's a pretty much a viable topic for any podcast.
or Minecraft, or Bruce Campbell, or Steam, or
Bruce Campbell.
Basically, this podcast I predict is basically just going to become the Bruce Campbell podcast.
If you don't know who Bruce Campbell is, first of all, go find out. And second of all, if you don't find out, jump off a bridge.
Yeah, so if you want, besides the podcast, we also have our own channels. I have the Clash of the Nerds channel, our
My
YouTube channel.
named So and Jay, very original.
Yep. So, well, I have the Clash of the Nerds channel where I play a lot of video games, either by myself or with that guy. We do vlogs, but we haven't done a vlog in forever, just because
They're
We
more
haven't
the informational type things.
they're more like right after we get out of a movie, we'll do like
That's
an initial
tradition.
We always do like an initial review, like just like our initial thoughts, like, oh man, this was awesome. That's about it. That's all you'll get from that. But although we did do that guy, me, Steve, or not that guy, me, Steven, and Ian, we did what was the movie? It was with Tom Cruise, and it's basically Groundhog's Day but more sci-fi.
I have no idea.
Well, whatever the movie is, we did that one and we said it was pretty terrible.
Oh, okay, so there's a slight twist there.
Yeah. So that's kind of all we really have to say. So check out our channels if you want family-friendly content.
On mine, anyways. I don't know.
Mine, unless if the game is rated M, I'm not going to hold back, because you shouldn't be watching that anyways if you're a younger kid. But if it's a family-friendly thing like Minecraft, I'm going to try very hard not to use bad words.
I do put some warnings at the beginning of series, like for instance, Tales from the Borderlands. I put a warning at the beginning of that one.
Yep. So, thanks for joining us on the first sidecast / intro to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. This definitely went over 10 minutes, but
That's okay. We're at like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we started at 5 minutes into our Skype call, but still.
Whatever.
But I'll figure it out. So, thanks for joining. I'm Joe Thunder,
And I'm So and Jay.
also known as that guy.
And that guy.
So, we need to discuss about our sidecast.
Indeed.
So, I was thinking about it today, and do we want to actually have it be a that guy and that guy like chat show type thing, or do we just want to go into what it'll inevitably be turned into and make it a Bruce Campbell podcast?
Oh, my day got so much better. Was that a serious question?
It kind of is.
I was gonna go with the first answer, but then I heard Bruce Campbell. I don't know, man. I feel like it should be the first answer, though.